the next budget masterpiece by POCO, or yet another affordable smartphone with bunch of corners cut? Is it worth the money? Let's inspect. Hey everybody, good to meet you and welcome to the not so wonderful world of smartphones in 2022. And I say this because it's a very challenging year. Transportation fees are getting really high and there are a lot of things which are being delayed, including parts for smartphones. Therefore, prices are going up and we kind of get less for what we pay, and even some vendors are not including essentials like chargers. But what we are inspecting today being the POCO M4. This is their latest devices of making this episode. It does have a charger, I need to underline that. And it's something really budget-oriented. It's a smartphone which got released a couple of months ago for the Indian region. Now it makes its global debut, and since it just has hit Europe, I think it's the right moment to inspect all of its qualities. This 5G smartphone costs just above $200, and you may go for up to 128GB configuration with 6GB RAM, meaning that internal storage configurations are limited. However, external storage options are supported. It belongs to the lower mid-range segments, where focus is on younger people seeking for accessible 5G and offering good performance value. The unboxing is no different to other POCO devices that we've tried out in the past couple of years. Needless to say that POCO, although being somewhat independent, is part of the big Xiaomi family, and it happens to be their budget-friendliest brand. Good news is that there are no corners cut with the package, so we can find the traditional transparent case offering excellent protection and covering all the edges of the phone, some warranty terms and information, the phone itself, and a charger accompanied by a USB Type-C cable. This is a very usual pack for Xiaomi's standards, and so far nothing that would disappoint. Perhaps seeing just 18 watts on the charger kind of means slow charging speeds, but we're going to test how this may affect the daily use. We're of course going to perform a number of tests in real-life situations. Let us firm stone through the specifications and find out what kind of hardware we may count on. The heart of the phone is the Dimensity 700, a 5G-capable system-on-a-chip with octa-core processor, 4 or 6GB RAM, 64 or 128GB storage. There's a 6.58-inch LCD display, a 5000 mAh battery, 50-megapixel main camera, a side-mounted fingerprint sensor, support for 2 SIM cards. It's running MIUI 13 based on Android 12 and weighs exactly 200 grams. To put these specifications into simpler to comprehend words, starting with the SoC, well, it's being manufactured by Mediatek. Dimensity 700 is one of the most affordable 5G-capable SoCs, and it hosts the processor, the RAM, and the storage. Obviously, it's not class-leading. I would say it belongs to the lower and mid-range segments. The display is also not too bad. We have LCD here, so angles of visibility wouldn't be great, and it's not as vibrant as some AMOLEDs, but it's a 12. The price tag. In terms of connectivity, I need to highlight the 3.5mm port. That's nice to have, especially if you like to listen to FM radio, which is available as an app. In terms of connectivity, we do have NFC available for the global edition, which is also pretty nice. We have the infrared port. We do have Wi-Fi 6 support missing, but given the capabilities of the chipset, I don't think that's too much of a disadvantage. I'll start focusing on the important components by first pointing to the camera. Well, at the first sight we see a dual camera setup, but the main camera is just one. The other module is a depth sensor in its always supporting row, contributes to the bokeh effect when you're doing portraits, so I think we better take a look into some samples taken from the camera. Absolutely stunning daytime photos. When I'm saying this, know that most smartphone cameras these days can offer such kind of quality. When it comes to the need for greater dynamic range, or we go and do some photos indoors, this is where the weaknesses of the camera start to show up. There are, of course, certain tweaks that the advanced camera app on the phone can provide, but there is a clear difference between the quality of photos taken with POCO M4 5G and the more expensive phones like the POCO M4, for instance. At night, as long as you use the night mode option, results are gonna be satisfactory. Not great, but if you keep your hands still, photos can be good enough to make your friends impressed with the shots that you post on social media. Video support is limited to 1080p 30 frames per second, understand nothing serious and remarkable. If you're mainly going to take photos, the camera is good. If you want to prioritize video or use the phone for vlogging, I would certainly have some second thoughts if I were you. The camera stack has a second sensor, by the way. It is a 2-megapixel depth sensor, useful when you take portrait photos. It contributes to the blur effect, which doesn't look that artificial after all. I actually appreciate the fact that Xiaomi didn't include extra useless and incapable cameras and focused on just one main image sensor to cover most shooting scenarios, but an ultra-wide perspective is obviously missing. The selfie camera on the front works good. It is also a budget-inspired implementation with 8-megapixel capacity and even HDR mode. Okay, exploring the camera, check. And we can always wish for more when it comes to camera performance, but I think POCO have cut the right corners here, focusing on just one main sensor and providing and extracting pretty decent image quality out of it. Now, exploring the other really important aspects of this smartphone, now we're going to focus on the performance driven by the system on a chip. Mediatek's Dimensity 700 is clearly a very budget-friendly implementation, however, it has been surprisingly capable for what it's worth. I've tried my favorite games and apps, browsing, social media hopping. No matter the challenge, the processor is delivering good results. It actually is bringing between 80 and 90% of the performance of the POCO M4 Pro, priced at around $270, so this clearly is a very positive thing. Artificial benchmarks have confirmed these good results, and the fact that the curve on this screen looks rather flat means that the phone cannot easily overheat. This is very important because some flagship phones this year suffer from severe throttling conditions, and as soon as they go into the red zone, performance is even worse than what the POCO M4 5G provides. Being equipped with a 90Hz display, this is definitely not a true gaming phone, but it's gonna do fine if you don't go for the most graphics-demanding games. PUBG runs fine, so does Real Racing 3, Call of Duty, and many others. I've tried all of them with the maximum graphics mode. Lighter games like Brawl Stars are also okay. Funny enough, the latter one runs smoother as compared to the much more expensive Nothing Phone 1 that I'm testing in parallel. The rest of the hardware features are also okayish. You're gonna hear sound through a mono speaker setup, which sounds like this. The fingerprint reader is placed inside the power button. Not my favorite implementation, but it's alrightish. There's the infrared blaster option, turning the phone into the most universal remote controller ever. Storage is expandable by dedicated micro SD slot, rare to be seen these days. And we mentioned that there is a 3.5mm port. Software is also good, a lighter edition of MIUI, which unfortunately has some bloatware, but you can easily get rid of it. There are going to be some ads shown while you install some new apps, and this is valid for certain regions only. POCO promised a few years of software support, which is really nice, and I hope to see frequent and stable updates. The best out of all is, however, the battery. 5000 mAh capacity paired with very conservative about consumption system on a chip. This turns the phone into something like a battery life champion. I couldn't believe how good screen-on-time results the phone can achieve, so this is perhaps its biggest strength. Sadly, with 18-watt charging speed, it's gonna take more than an hour to fully recharge the battery, and there is no wireless charging in case you wonder. This actually is a good moment to put together the list with the drawbacks. NFC is present in certain regions only, there is no Wi-Fi 6 support, no official waterproof rating, just a mono speaker and no ultra-wide camera. Clearly, some corners have been cut, but I think these are the right corners, because look at it. Well, it doesn't look, it doesn't feel, it doesn't perform like a very budget-oriented smartphone while for $200 it actually is. And I think it has all that it takes to have a reliable handset which is going to last at least for a few years and deliver exceptional battery endurance. If you're ready to pay like $50, $60 more, I think you can still find the Redmi Note 11 Pro or the POCO M4 Pro, which are virtually the same thing, well, different housing though. So I would say this one is totally to be recommended in the price tag of around $200. So that's been everything for today, and I really hope we've covered everything you have been looking for in regard to the POCO M4 5G. Of course, if you have some other follow-up questions, be invited, comments are down below the video. As usual, link to the product and more information about how you can support the channel is to be found in the video description. Thank you very much for watching this episode. Be subscribed for more. I'm Michael, and we'll be back with more cool tech inspections in just a few days. Bye!